What's up, Harpooners? It's your boy Gobo, and we welcome you to our very first ever Lunar Harpoon podcast. Along with me is our new correspondent, Regina. Regina, say hi to the people.
No.
And we're here to offer you all things nerd and pop culture. So today we are going to be discussing the current state of films going on right now. So Regina and I have had several conversations where we talked about, what makes a good movie. And I was starting to notice there's kind of a disparity between the genders and how we view, what's enjoyable. And I wanted to just kind of get into that. So our first example is a movie that I love and that I think a lot of people love, and that's Mad Max Fury Road. So Regina, tell me your opinions of this film.
I would light it on fire if I could and make sure that they never make the 3 planned sequels that they have set up to go forward.
Oh.
I was excited. I've seen part of the first Mad Max. I was pretty bored by that. I think I've seen the entirety of the one with Tina Turner. I believe that's Beyond Thunderdome. If there's another one, I don't know about it. And then came this piece of steaming pile of crap.
So I mean, what's your big issue with it? I mean, I think when I saw it, I was thoroughly entertained. You know, I think that a lot of the movies that come out nowadays are, they're very synthetic looking. You know, there's a lot of computer driven effects. It's not very plot driven, and it's you could tell that the studios had a lot of involvement in it. Where this movie, I feel like the characters are very simplistic, but the the practical effects and I feel like the narrative of the movie, if you can call it a narrative, it's simple. It's like here's a goal, there's a simple goal, and we're gonna just spend the whole movie developing this one goal. And I think that it's not pretending to be anything that it's not.
It kind of is, because the problem is with the movies that are out there, because I'm a huge action and sci-fi film fanatic, and I watch a ton of just utter shit movies. Definitely in the Terabad categories, where they know what they are, they make the movie, you enjoy yourself and you move along with your life. But this movie was trying to be everything to everyone. It was trying to appease the fanboys, and it was trying to be ultra violent for the 18 to 25 demographic. And it was supposed to have some hot chicks in there as well, although having them pregnant, probably not the best strategy when it comes to that. And it was trying to be very beautiful visually, which it was. And it was supposed to be unique and original and la la la. But in all of that, they forgot to give it a personality. They hid their main star behind the same thing that everybody hides Tom Hardy behind, which is basically a big fat face mask.
Just some voice affectation. Yeah.
They're just like, he's kind of pretty. Let's hide his face and then make him sound muffled, and you can't tell what the hell he's going to say. But I actually looked up a little bit of trivia before here. The guy has 52 lines in the entire movie. Now you can't.
I wouldn't have thought it was that many.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. Well, probably some of them were like, no. And so when you take a movie like that and you're trying to be all things to all people, you're gonna fail. And that's what this movie has done, is it's failed. Because although it's very pretty, it's completely empty. And for a soulless movie, then you better give me like the kind of action that I expect, and I want to see some cheesy one-liners, and he's gonna get the chick in the end and all of that. None of that happened. So it was just kind of like wah, wah.
Well, I think it's funny to it's almost funny just saying this. I think they were going for a more cerebral effect than just the standard action cheese. Well, you think about it.
For cerebral, we don't need words.
You don't, though. You don't. I mean, that's the thing. Is like I didn't need to know like Immortan Joe's motivations. Like, why was he just was a bad guy? He wanted power, and he just had like why he wanted a bunch of pregnant women around him with making breast milk and like hoarding water from all his mutant subordinates. Like, I just accepted it for face value. I saw the movie and I'm like, okay, they like cars, they like gas, they like guns. That's their world. And I just accepted their world at face value. So I think that like when you build your narrative around that, like I didn't really need any further development of that story.
Now, if you're going to have a whole bunch of cardboard cutouts, as all of your leads were if even that, and in fact, Mad Max actually was a cardboard cutout with that many lines in the movie. You literally could have just stuck him in the back of the scene, completely just torn out like hi with his little hand up, waving gaily in the wind, and you would have been just fine, and there would have been absolutely no impact on the movie, which is about the saddest damn thing I've ever said.
Yeah.
So the issue is if you're going to have a whole bunch of cardboard cutouts, then you can't pretend to be cerebral. If you're going to tell me a story, you better tell me a damn story, because you can tell a story with very little dialogue. Something like Dark City told a story with very little dialogue. You didn't actually need to know the background of it because they set it up in such a way where you could infer the background of it. If you've never seen any of these Mad Max movies, you're not going to be able to infer the background of anything that's going on. You don't know why, you don't know how, you don't know you generally can guess their motivations, but if you're going to make such a beautiful world visually, then you should tell us the world. And they told nothing about the world. They didn't even tell anything about each other. The most interesting, quote, character was a guy who talked to his own tumors. That's how bad this movie was.
It was endearing.
No.
No,
it was gross.
Oh, sure. I mean, but I like gross. I don't know what it is. I have a propensity to like things that are, I don't know, I don't want to say unnatural, but, just, wait a minute. Did we stop recording? Oh, no, there it is. Oh, okay.
Best podcast ever.
I know. Technological differences. So
that's what happens when your brain goes beep.
Well, yeah, just I saw the record line stop. So okay, all right. So off track a little bit. Yeah, I think that the uncomfortable setting of the movie I thought was achieved pretty well. So I mean, in Mad Max, it's dirty. It's post-apocalyptic. So I think that the overarching narrative of the movie. So I guess it's interesting to hear that you weren't entertained by this movie at all.
No. The problem is that some of the things that they did were kind of fun, like the guy hanging there with his stupid guitar and the flames coming out of it. In a different movie, that would have been hilariously awesome fun. You would have been like, tee-hee-hee, popcorn shoved in face, just with your drink, and you would have been like super happy. But because it's supposed to be on this very tense chase scene, which, by the way, of course, the chase scenes were amazing.
Yeah.
Which is what, again, keeps everybody watching it, at least. I didn't walk out of the theater like Last Airbender style, but I did actually make it all the way through. And I did think about the movie afterwards, and I even gave it another shot. Did not work out well for me. But when you take a movie like that and you're just like shooting guitars and flames and whatever, then it needs to be in the right context. Everything was out of context in the movie because they were trying so hard to be serious and gritty and realistic, and then it was like, I'm going to play with my dick. Flames. So you can't have it, like I said, you're trying to do everything to everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you not putting it in the same category as The Last Airbender.
No. That's just a bad
That's a special
movie.
type of god-awful there.
This is just to me specifically, not entertaining movie. It's not even that badly done. Mm-hmm. It's just missing a huge chunk of what would have taken it from just, well, I saw it, to, wow, that was freaking amazing. And it was missing such a huge chunk that I'm just annoyed by the movie and how much fandom it has gotten. And that just makes me mad.
So this is kind of a where we kind of get to our subject matter we're dealing with today. Is I've noticed that Regina and I have pretty similar tastes in movies. We love obscure sci-fi and horror and all that other crap. But it's this movie and a couple other movies, and I've gotten the same reaction that I've gotten from Regina in regards to Mad Max and some other things that I've gotten from a lot of other females. And then I feel like the male people that I talked to about it all enjoyed these movies. So I'm wondering, is that lack of a supporting narrative what's causing the disparity between the two genders in enjoying these films?
I think it's a lack of any chemistry between any of the characters and any character between any of the characters. You can take a movie like Die Hard 4, which I've seen like 20,000 times.
Was Shia LaBeouf, that one?
No, gosh, who was it? No, it wasn't Shia LaBeouf. Was he in one of those movies?
Was that him? Am I mixing up? I might be mixing up Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Oh, God, that movie is
So, but this is the one with where like he jumps the motorcycle into the into the helicopter.
It's the one where he's coming up and there's a hacker and he's going to take down the entire eastern seaboard and they're going to reset the world and all of that jazz.
Yeah,
right?
It's like Live Free or Die Hard, right? Is what it's called.
One of those is. There's too many, and the one where they were set in Russia was god awful.
Justin Long.
That's who it is.
Yeah,
yes,
so
Justin
not
Long.
Shia LaBeouf, Justin Long. So,
yes,
thin, pale, and white, not an action star.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the nerdy boy posterdom has been cast. So you take a movie like Live Free, Die Hard.
Okay.
You're not told any of the characters' motivations, and you're not told what they're going to do once they get this all done, and of course you have a character like John McClane who's been carried over from the other movies.
Right.
But you don't know anything about him either. But because Bruce Willis specifically is very charismatic, and because they knew what they were shooting for, it's freaking entertaining. It's not good, but it's entertaining and fun.
Yeah. Mad
Max is not entertaining or fun because they take their most charismatic stars like Charlize Theron, or Theron, I'm not sure how you pronounce her name.
Yeah, either way. We know who she is.
Who can make something like Snow White and the Huntsman at least watchable, and you hide her behind a whole bunch of God, that movie's awful.
It's so bad.
It's so bad. So you hide her behind a whole bunch of makeup and a really resting bitch face, and then you have her stare straight ahead in a vehicle for many, many hours. So it's the most uncomfortable road trip in the world. Dragging along a basically comatose Mad Max. I mean, his eyes are open, but he's basically comatose.
He's not a totally essential part of that plot.
You could have cut him out of the entire movie.
Yeah, I think there's a few scenes that I think that he helps move the story along by here's this truck with guns coming up, so he's gonna go do something, and I think that he drove the truck for a little bit, but essentially he's not an essential character.
So why would you name the movie after him?
Well, because you're going for you're sort of going for canon, but franchising is a big thing. So it's like they could have made a post-apocalyptic movie not about Mad Max, and it would have been just as good.
It was a post-apocalyptic movie not about Mad Max. The only thing anybody ever talks about is Furiosa.
Sure.
So, because at least she had some lines.
No, she did. That was a real character.
Yeah, and plus she's an excellent actress, so she was doing the best with what she was given. And there was all this behind the scenes crap with Tom Hardy being kind of a douchebag to both her and the director. Yeah. And it didn't show on the film other than the fact that he was a super outsider in the film, and evidently was a super outsider on the set.
So I think it's interesting that you talk about Live Free and Die Hard as a movie that's entertaining. Where I can't stand that movie.
I've seen it so many times. I'm just this is crap. Put it on. Click.
Well, and it's I like the Die Hard movies up through 3. And I think
1, 2, 4. That's the only sequence.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think
3 and 5. Nah.
I tried to watch the Russian one. I got maybe half an hour in. I was like, I can't do this.
Well, they basically destroyed the John McClane character. So I pretend like that one doesn't exist.
Well, but the problem with Live Free or Die Hard is Die Hard had a tone to it. It's somewhat lighthearted, but it's at its core it's like a dangerous situation. It's an action movie with a regular everyday guy put in extraordinary circumstances. And through sheer dumb luck and perseverance, he overcomes his goal. The problem with Live Free or Die Hard, it's like they threw away all the grit, all the normal guy aspects of it, and turned it into a it's kind of just like a laugh romp. It's
sure.
like they took the lightheartedness and then just blew it way out of proportion. And I think it suffers from a technical side.
It has many, many things that are wrong with it, but it can still be entertaining because you're just turning your brain off and you're watching. Oh,
yeah. It keeps doing that.
It keeps doing that.
Yeah.
Evidently, our computers are having some issues.
It is keeping up with all the gold we're spewing out here.
All the derailing that we do, the computer just derails along with it.
Yeah.
So you take something like Live Free or Die Hard, which is just an example of an action movie with absolutely no explanation of any character, and then you've got Mad Max, who has no explanations, but because it doesn't have anybody who's likable in the entire film, you're not rooting for anyone. You could have blown away Mad Max, Furiosa, any one of the pregnant chicks, and I would have been like, meh. You know, when the girl like falls from the truck and gets
it's not
trampled
really a
under.
heart-wrenching moment, no.
Yeah, other than the fact that I'm female and I've been pregnant, there was no connection whatsoever. I'm like, well, yeah, she's dead. Moving along. La 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 la.
Yeah, there was like what 6 other interchangeable characters of the same character.
I don't even know what their names were. That's how badly this was done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they had names.
I don't know what they are though. I think the favorite one had a name. One of them was a Valkyrie or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of the point. You can't even like. How can you like a movie where you don't even where the characters are so interchangeable? You can just take them out. There's nothing at stake here. You're not rooting for anybody. There's no emotional attachment, and if there's not going to be an emotional attachment, then it must, by proxy, be so laughably entertaining and empty that you can laugh at that, and it doesn't have either one of those things, which is why I won't say that there's a gender divide, but there's definitely a divide between people who would like to see the world fleshed out, so that way at least that they can feel themselves immersed in the world, and those who were still okay to turn off their brains and watch something like this.
Okay.
But I think that's kind of the difference that goes on there.
I mean, regardless, I think we can all enjoy the movie from a technical perspective. I think that, you know, with the practical effects, I just am genuinely entertained by that movie with just the spectacle of it. And I think, you know, we get some sort of one-liners. I mean, it's Australian, so I mean, there's some, you know, it's goofy, but you know, I can enjoy watching, you know, the guys yelling about Valhalla and spray painting their faces. It just brings some unknown level of joy to watch somebody go through that.
Well, then, yeah, if the entire movie was about spray painting your face, then I would have probably enjoyed it more, because that would have gone into the slightly ridiculous category of, okay, well, I can watch this. You know, it's like remember Doomsday, which is also post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
It suffered from the same thing that this movie does, in that you did not just freaking care. You're like, show me the world, show me something that I care about, because I'm just bored.
Doomsday though suffered from the almost too weird factor.
Yes.
Like, I think that there's you can
video gone wrong.
Yeah, you can make you know, some strange choices in movies that work, but then if you like, you know, like the because like the having to like make the audience think too much. Like, there's a scene in Doomsday where they're like on stage and they're like, everybody's like cheering and they're about to like decide who gets eaten or something. I don't know. I really wasn't listening.
Yeah, by that
But
point.
the main bad guy comes out dancing to "Good Thing" by the Fine Young Cannibals, and I'm like,
I forgot about that.
Right, yeah, and which is a hilarious song, but I was like watching it and I was like, are they playing the Fine Young Cannibals because they are cannibals in the movie? Like how many audience members are gonna make that connection?
Nerd. We're doing inside jokes that are too inside.
Right, like, and even me who like got the reference was like, man, this is like that's too much. It's too much to think about.
Yeah.
So okay, well so moving on. To getting away from Mad Max, the movie came out a couple of years ago. So one movie that we both saw recently that I kind of wanted to talk about, Thor Ragnarok. So what are your thoughts about the devastatingly handsome Chris Hemsworth playing Thor for the third time in his standalone movie?
Yeah, I mean, saying that it's the best of the Thor movies, it was a pretty freaking low bar to begin with.
I think it definitely achieves that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Here's the thing. Yeah, Marvel's figured out the formula. They know what it takes to be entertaining, but now they're copying off themselves. It was trying a little too hard to be Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sure, I can see that.
And as my husband said, it's got a completely forgettable plot. We actually got in the car and we were driving home, and he's like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "What do you think?" And he goes, "I can't remember what it was about." and he goes, "What happened in the movie? We just watched it." And I was like, "Okay." And so it took us like 10 minutes to piece it all the way together. We just saw it. I remembered what I ate in the theater way more than I remember the plot of this movie.
No, I think it's funny that you say that, because I'm in kind of a total agreement with you. Is that I remember my experience at the theater a lot more than I remember the film itself.
Yeah.
So I think that you know, and it definitely is the best Thor movie. But it's like, if you think about like I saw Thor: The Dark World like a couple of times. If you asked me to explain the plot of that movie or like what happened or like the big twist at the end, like I have like a very vague recollection of it.
No, it's like Doctor Who character, holes in space, ta-da.
Yeah, it's
and
Jeff Goldblum,
her assistant's assistant.
Yeah.
This
is a Dark World. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of interchangeable things that you were saying.
Who, by the way, has again, Kat has way more interesting lines than Jane Foster did, which is dumb.
Well, Natalie Portman's talent is kind of wasted, I think, in such a charismatic role. Like I like Natalie Portman a lot in her more subdued roles, like Black Swan, where she plays a crazy person who kind of just mumbles the whole time. I thought she did great. I was like, man, this is her role.
Yeah. She was also amazing in Beautiful Girls when she was younger.
Yeah.
And Hitman, where they just let her be an ingenue for a little bit and be that super kind of adult, overly adult child.
Right.
Basically, she did really well at those roles.
Yeah. Are you talking about the Professional?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, you said Hitman.
Well,
I was like Leon the Professional. Yeah. It was like a whole French thing. So
it was very uncomfortable.
Her dynamic with oh my god, what is that actor's name? Jean something.
I don't know, but he's amazing. Yeah. I really like him. I've seen him in a couple of things.
Yeah, no, they have like when she develops that like sort of crush on him and stuff, and he doesn't really know how to handle it.
Well, that same thing happened in Beautiful Girls. She had a huge crush on one of the main characters, and he kind of had one on her back, but not for her physically, but for her mentally.
Yeah.
And so again, it was very uncomfortable, but she did well in those roles because she did seem very adult for her.
Right. Yeah, Jean Reno.
Yeah, Jean Reno.
Is what is I can never remember his name, which is terrible because he's a wonderful actor.
Yeah, that's a Luc Besson movie, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, Luc Besson.
That tells you everything you need to know.
Gary Oldman. We start talking about Thor Ragnarok. We talk about a movie. Start talking about a movie that came out in.
That I've seen one time when I was like 15.
Yeah, this is early 1994. Yeah. So okay. So Leon the Professional, great movie. Thor Ragnarok.
It's okay.
It's good. It was fun. So in comparison to Guardians of the Galaxy, I tend to agree with you. I think that the Disney, once they took over Marvel, they tried to put a little bit more of a lighthearted sense to their characters. You know, it's like, here's Captain America, you know, he's dark and brooding, there's all this history, but now here's a joke about how, like, you know, like, I know how to Charleston, or whatever, you know, he said in the Avengers. But it's with this movie, I think that you know, when the Yucks came, they were subtle, but then they kind of hung on to it for too long. Like the scene at the beginning where he's hanging on the chain and the big demon Balrog guy is yelling at him, and he's like rotating around, and he's just like, oh wait, let me come around. But and then it brings you to a point about like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Whereas I feel like, you know, the second movie in that series had a better overarching story.
Definitely.
And, you know, it was the characters were better developed. The acting was a little bit better. So you can say the second one's a better movie, but the first one is just so much more enjoyable to watch.
Well, yeah, because it wasn't trying as hard. Like, they had an idea of what they wanted to do. And at that time, it was fresh and new. Whereas in the second one, now they had something to live up to. The second one is way better of a movie, and like I had little sniffles, and I brought my son, and he was like, I don't want him to die, and I was like, oh no, this is his ET, this is horrible.
Oh no.
And so the second one is better technically, but the first one is exactly what he meant to make, and you can tell.
Yeah.
Like, he's very proud of what he did, and there's tons of cute little inside jokes. And the second one, they're like, oh yeah, this is what we're supposed to do. Template, click. Yeah. And so they did have a little bit more trouble pulling you in because you were expecting it now.
Yeah.
The first one was good because it was unexpected. It was the first Marvel movie like that.
Well, and I think what's kind of nice about it is that like Disney gives their directors a lot of freedom to make the movies they want. Like both the Guardians movies are just very James Gunn. You know, that's his style. In this movie, the director, Taika Waititi, I think his name is. He did.
What his name is?
Yeah, that's he's from New Zealand. What's the he made that the Things We Do in the Shadows, that vampire movie.
I forgot.
Yeah, that's like really his only.
What we do in the shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows. Yeah,
love that movie.
Yeah, you made me watch that movie.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. Such a weird movie.
And it's it's funny that Disney has kind of a unique eye for talent. They're like, okay, here's somebody who made a $5 million independent movie, went to Cannes or one of the film festivals, and here's $200 million to make a Thor movie.
Yeah.
Like,
How can you go
no
wrong?
pressure.
Here's everybody that we've already known, and tra la la.
Yeah.
The problem is that Thor never really has been a goofy Chris Pratt type of character, so stop making him like that. Sure, part of the problem with the first two Thor movies is that they very much made him kind of like a straight man in the comic, fish out of water world. It kind of worked, it kind of didn't. The dynamic between him and his girlfriend was very stupid and forced, and we're just not even going to go into that.
Yeah, it wasn't
I've
that
known
great.
you for 10 seconds now. I love Earth, and I'm a grown-up. Give me my horn back. Here's my hammer. Yeah, but by the third, he's supposed to be a king. He's going to be the next king. He's supposed to have matured, and he's supposed to know stuff. And then you put him in these like really dumb situations, and you make him slapstick his way out. Sure, it's entertaining.
Yeah,
but
I'm
going to buy it. It's going on my DVD show.
Oh,
but
of course,
I'm probably going to watch it once a year, maybe.
Yeah. No, I think. And I think that's kind of why I bring up brought up the point of the difference between the Guardians movies. Is that's how I felt about this Thor movie. Is like entertaining as all get out. But could you like sit down and say it's a good movie? Like, from a writing perspective, not really. Not narrative perspective, not really. Beautifully shot. Like the soundtrack was good. I was kind of disappointed. I said I saw a couple other reviewers review this movie, and they said that they liked that they put Immigrant Song in the movie as well as the preview. And I was like, I think that when they first made Thor, Fox Studios wanted to get that song in the movie, and they couldn't afford the rights from Led Zeppelin, or maybe it was Sony, whoever did the first Thor movie. Zeppelin was just, their record label was not letting it go, and then Disney comes in and here's $8 bazillion dollars, and
we have all the money.
And then that song was perfect for that trailer, because it's like Thor, he's kind of a unique guy, it's exciting, that song kind of built it up. But the fact that they like just plugged it in from the trailer, I was like, is that really necessary? Like, I thought that was a weird decision.
Well, plus, are Thor and the Hulk really equals? Didn't the Hulk, like, crush an entire planet at one point? I don't think Thor. Woohoo!
Hey!
I don't think Thor can crush an entire planet with his fists.
Sure. Yeah. And
in any circumstance, even with his hammer.
Yeah.
Which is now gone in this movie. So he should just be stronger than the average guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Hulk crushed his brother like there was no tomorrow.
Oh, man. Are you talking about the Incredible Hulk movie with Edward Norton?
No. I'm talking about like the Avengers. Remember when he was like bam, bam, bam?
Oh, with
I thought
you were talking about Hulk's brother.
God.
Clearly, I don't know as much about Marvel as I thought I did.
Those Edward Norton movies.
The first one was oh my god, Eric Bana.
Yeah.
Oh, that movie was god awful.
And Jennifer Connelly just had this blank face the entire movie. It was so bad.
I didn't know that she was capable of making other faces.
She's an Oscar winner, of course she is. but
hey.
Evidently, what they really like to do is they put something quite beautiful and kind of empty, and then they're like, "Yeah, here's 5 lines. Make it believe like the main character loves you."
Right.
Ta-da.
Well, in fairness, 3-6 Mafia has an Oscar. So.
It's not for acting.
Not for
acting.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Music, just acting in motion.
But point is, Thor Ragnarok, just because it floated to the top of other movies, doesn't mean it's technically good. They could do a lot better with Thor. Like when they did the Captain America movie, they did his origin story, and it was okay. And then they had him in the Winter Soldier, and it was like, hell yeah. This is what I was waiting for. Winter Soldier is a great movie. And it has and you finally see why Captain America is special. You don't really see why Thor is special. What he can do what? And he has what type of personality? And what would he do in any given situation? You don't know, because in the other movies he would have done something completely different. In this one, he's like, knee slap.
Yeah. Well, he They took a lot of elements just that worked in other movies, and they you know, with Chris Hemsworth, you know, they have these great looking actors, you know, and they got good personality, and they let them like improv and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's a fun watch. And so, you know, when you find like the standard, you know, popcorn smashing, talking through the whole movie crowd, you know, they're not necessarily looking for an overarching narrative. They're not looking for like, you know, just subtle explanations of you know how the movies are like created and stuff. They're not looking for that. They're looking for, you know, hot guy do thing. You know, that's
well, they're looking for money, ching ching.
That's what Disney's looking for.
Yeah, and you take that in, you know, in stark contrast to all the DC movies where now I'm looking to make it the grown up emo style of I'm gonna be so different from Marvel, and then they're like, wait a minute, that doesn't work.
Well, that's just
crap.
DC is just a great example of why Warner Brothers shouldn't make movies anymore. Like,
no, they should just let not Zack Snyder touch another movie till the day he dies.
You know, and
he should
honestly,
stop touching movies.
Zack Snyder, I can say that I still enjoy his remake of Dawn of the Dead. You know, with oh god, I don't even remember who it was. Ving Rhames, yeah.
That was
Sarah
a movie.
Polley too.
Yeah. That movie stuck with you. Actually, that one I saw in the theaters, and even though I won't watch it again, it did stick with me.
It was
and
good.
For that particular genre, he did okay.
It was exciting, and they touched on you know some of the sadness and hopelessness that in a post-apocalyptic situation.
Yeah. Do you want to slit your wrist at the end? Yes. That's what he does in all of his movies. Though. I mean, you want to slit your wrist in all of his movies.
Well, and I respect him too for beating the curve on the whole zombie craze, like, you know, and that'll be a different episode where we talk about how The Walking Dead has ruined the zombie genre.
Oh god, The Walking Dead. You mean soap opera of the week?
Yeah. The meme, the show. Yeah, Coral. Anyways, so Zack Snyder, he's not a completely incompetent filmmaker, but he has made some really, truly terrible movies. And I think that, like, once you kind of, like, let him go off script and do his own thing, but now he's back to source material, like, I cannot enjoy the DC movies. I mean...
he's like an emo Michael Bay. He's like, here's some action, and here's some hot chicks, and here's no plot. And by the way, here's some shit that doesn't make sense. Ta-da! It's my movie. Aren't you excited? Let's go watch it. You know, and then
it's hard to put him in the category with Michael Bay, because I think Michael Bay is just also genuinely kind of a shitty person, the way that he displays things.
Personality-wise,
I know. Well, I've never
seen
seen Zack Snyder take slights at. I mean, yeah, he's pretty over the top with the ladies, you know, but I've never seen him be as exploitative as Michael Bay, and he's also doesn't make cuts at race like Michael Bay does.
He does not. However, you take somebody like Lois Lane, who was slightly done wrong in the original Superman movies, but everybody was, because they were just trying out the genre and they didn't really know what they were doing. And she's supposed to be smart and hard-nosed and Superman's equal. Like, you're supposed to believe that this guy, this amazing guy, would fall in love with her. Okay?
Sure.
And then you take the Zack Snyder freaking version, and all she does is fall out of things and stare off into the distance and go, I think I figured something out. And then, you know, or like the Batman v Superman, where she's like, here's this kryptonite sphere. I'm sure that this won't come in handy. Click into the water. And then she, like, manages to almost drown herself during the finale. It's like, come on. Can we stop with the damsel in distress?
Batman vs Superman. Yeah, so that's funny. Justice League actually comes out today. I don't know when you guys are listening to this, but it's... it's the 17th, so Justice League was just released last night, and I have no interest in it. I could say honestly, I'll probably go see it for the fact of the matter of being able to say that I saw it, but like I don't care anymore.
I might see it for Aquaman and Wonder Woman. That's about it.
I enjoyed Gal Gadot, you know.
But now I'm irritated because I already saw the picture. I don't know if you saw the news article where it showed the picture of the Amazons from the Wonder Woman movie. And then it shows the pictures of the Amazons from the Justice League movie. And the ones in the Justice League movie are basically wearing like leather bikini tops and leather skirts.
Sure.
And there's no way that these elite warriors meant to, like, protect what the gods want them to protect are going to be running around like, I don't need armor. All I need is cleavage. Whee! It's like, come on.
Resting on their feminine mystique. So I think So yeah, we don't need steel, just one strip of cowhide.
I'm sure, yeah, in D&D that would be like protection 1 armor. The Amazons probably had like protection 30 armor on, and they were just effing around on an island by themselves. They didn't even have anybody to fight but themselves, and they're like in full armor every single day looking like badasses. And these chicks are like, leather's good. It's hot outside. Right. So we'll see. I'll watch it. And I'll let you know.
Gearing up for their Instagrams.
Yeah, for their selfies.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to stop.
We didn't even get to the other movie.
Well, I know, right? I told you, you were like, oh, are we going to be able to talk for 30 minutes? I'm like,
yeah, we can talk for 30 minutes. How long have we talked for right now?
35.
Yes, we're good.
Yeah.
We should not go into Blade Runner 2049, which again has a very deep divide against the two of us. I was so depressed by the time I watched that movie that I had to go watch something really stupid after it, just to wash the taste out of my mouth. And that is not the type of movie that I would like to watch and be entertained by.
So, all right. So, Blade Runner will be our next point of contention on the Lunar Harpoon podcast.
And Justice League, we'll watch
Justice League, I'm sure we will talk and
We're going to give away our nerd cards if we don't watch Justice League. And hand over our $12 to the Marvel Justice League. That'll
be a matinee. I'll go see it with the old people. So, all right. So that'll finish us off here. We want to thank Crit Castle Games for providing us recording space. Check out our Lunar Harpoon on Facebook, YouTube. Oh my God, Instagram, Twitter. We have our new website, lunarharpoon.com. Check out our blog, The Harpoonist. Is on WordPress, also linked through the Lunar Harpoon website.
And 2 new shows coming in.
Yes.
And 2 new shows coming in. Terrabad, where we do discuss the amazingness of awfulness. And Sunny Side Up, where we just talk about like positive news, because every time you want to watch the news on TV, it makes you want to go hide underneath your covers and never come back.
That's true. So yeah, that'll be a unique challenge for us. Taking my nerdy methodology and then trying to create like a broadcast news show. I thought
an really actual format.
I know, right? Hey, what about
scripting?
Formats.
Research? No.
So that'll do it for us, Harpooners. Thanks a lot for listening. Tune in. We're going to try to get one of these out to you every week. If not, it'll be, whenever we get to it.
We'll say week-ish.
Week-ish. Yeah, we got
Life
holidays
happens.
and families and all that other stuff.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, holidays.
Oh, yeah. Boy.
Yeah, I can imagine us getting together on Black Friday. That's going to work.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I'll be on the road. Yeah. So
we'll say ish. Ish.
See you next time, Harpooners.
Thank you, Harpooners. Have a great day.